Thank you guys for having me. Honestly, it's awesome to see everyone here. I know a ton of you. My heart kind of jumped when I saw Jackie. James, I was a youth. Tammy, when for a lot of these staff who are here, we're in management now, who I guess we're staff, and I was there. And I'm kind of shy speaking in front of you, the rest of you though. I don't really know you, so I'm gonna go ahead. I say it's interesting because it's kind of like university. Only the keeners sit up front, the rest, the troublemakers, are in the back. I see you. I'll keep an eye out for you. Don't worry. I guess I was asked to come here to kind of share the experiences I had as a child growing up, going to homework clubs, being involved in after-school programming. I grew up in the Vanier community. I went to the McCann Clubhouse, which is McGann now. They changed one letter. They want to confuse people like me. It was a wonderful time. I'm one of 6 children. I have three beautiful sisters and 2 troublemaking brothers. You know, we grew up in a great community, and it's thanks to people like you. So I'm going to start off by giving you a big round of applause, because the work you do is not valued enough at times. You don't get paid enough. We all know that. The work you do is amazing. The work you do for youth like me is invaluable. You can't put a value on it. And I'm thankful for it, and I know my family, my brothers, sisters are thankful for it. One of the first stories I actually wanted to share with you was I was in about grade 7, and we were learning algebra when they start putting letters in math. I don't know why they mix numbers with letters. And I remember being extremely confused and sitting down and trying to figure it out. And a lovely volunteer at the McCann Clubhouse, those of you that work there, I think she might still go there, Victoria. She is a paraplegic. She, from her legs down, couldn't walk, but she was on a wheelchair, and she would come in almost every day. And I swear, I don't think she understood algebra either. But she sat right next to me as I tried to solve it every day. And her just sitting there, I'd look at her, do you know what to do? She's like, well, we can look it up. And that's literally what we did. We just looked it up. But it's so vivid in my mind, those moments of just sitting there and having someone sit next to me as I try to freaking solve letters and numbers. And you know, what does X truly mean? I still don't know. If anyone wants to help me, let me know. And look it up, right? And the importance of championing a child in that sense, you know, championing a youth. It is so important. I think Hildy mentioned mentors, and so did Nora, and what it means to be a mentor. And sometimes we don't realize it as youth workers. I got this, you know, work quite a bit also in the field as a youth worker. You don't realize that you're a mentor to a child sometimes, because you're just there and you're working with all of them. And you say hi to this one, you say hi to that one, but they look up to you. And that champion, you know, if you can find that one child that you can champion, it makes a whole world of a difference. And you know, as we become more conscious of it, it's really, really interesting, because our relationship with them also changes. It grows. You know, you find different ways to help them out, find different ways to nurture them. And then sometimes you're never really teaching them, right? I'm going to point out James in the back for a second. And James was a big mentor of mine growing up. We went skiing together. I remember the first time we went skiing, I just bombed the hill. And he chased right after me. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I thought that's how you're supposed to go down a hill. I mean, you see it on TV. He then took me and taught me how to ski, and we went down the hill. And it was such a huge learning opportunity, educational opportunity, but it never had to do anything with math, it never had to do anything with reading or any of that. But we learned how to learn. And that is, I think, what we're teaching kids. You know, at times we're teaching them algebra, we're teaching them how to read, we're teaching them phonetics, we're teaching them all that, but we're teaching them how to learn. We're teaching them how to be independent. We're teaching them how to be great citizens of Ottawa and the Canada community. And one of the big things that always hit me, it was that I used to say this all the time. My little brother says, homework's not fun, right? And you hear that, I'm sure, from kids all the time. This is not fun. I don't want to do this. It's not fun. And I said that actually at a literacy training one time as a youth worker. I was like, okay, but like these kids don't think it's fun. And I remember just getting scolded. And the speaker looked over at me and said, you know, in my 20 years of teaching other people how to teach literacy, I've never received that question that it's not fun. And I guess I'm like, oh, that's just my spoiled generation. Everything needs to be fun, right? Yay, Generation Y. And she turned to me and said, well, Fahd, I think we need to start teaching the difference between fun, happiness, and joy. And I said, okay, well, what's the difference in that? That to me is they're synonyms. And she said, well, joy is that everlasting feeling that no one can take away from you, because joy is something that you've accomplished for yourself. The ability to read gives you joy. It gives you that freedom. When happiness is temporary, right? Playing a little bit of fun, playing a couple video games, that's fun, that just gets you going. But joy is being able to search all the video games reviews to see which one's the best so that you could go and choose for yourself. That's joy. It's the ability to do for yourself, and that happiness, that confidence that no one can take away from you. And so somehow we can kind of teach our children that. We know that, obviously through psychology studies, later gratification is never as easy as gratification right away. But if we can show how joy and long-term gratification takes, there's so many wonders we can do at our homework clubs and all that. The last thing I wanted to share is actually a little story of me at camp. I worked at a camp called Camp Smitty, Boys and Girls Club camp. It's by Eganville, beautiful place. Some of you might have been there. I kid you not, this was a really, really fascinating moment in my experience as a youth worker. I was 16 at the time. It was the first time I was ever working at camp. And you can just imagine 16-year-old punk me. Did not like to listen to anyone. Still have that problem, but you know. I'm a student. I get away with things. And I remember being there, and at the first day of camp, right, we get all the kids to take out their candy because you got to check for peanuts. Literally, we just take and eat it when they're not paying attention. So all the kids take out their candy. We have our cabin, like 8 kids, right? They're all sitting down. They take out candy. One kid takes out some fruit roll-ups. One kid takes out gummy worms and all that, chips and all that. And one kid takes out a box of dry mac and cheese. Yeah, that was my face. Yeah. So he looks at me. He took out a box of dry mac and cheese, and he said, "I like mac and cheese." I was like. He said, "Yeah, I like it dry." And like 16-year-old me was just about to, you know, like, what the heck? Who likes that? And I kid you not, as you know, luckily we had senior counselors. This is why it's good to pair your younger staff with some older ones. When the senior counselor swooshes in and says, "Oh my God, is that dry mac and cheese? Can I have some?" I'm standing back here kind of just watching this unfold, like, no. You don't actually like dry mac and cheese. He opens up the box, puts his hand in it, and he's eating it. And the most wonderful thing happens next. All of the kids, the one with the fruit roll-up and the gummy bears and the chips, turn to this kid and say, "Hey, trade you." I'm still standing back here. I'm like 16 years old. Like, what is happening? That's disgusting. That's not. No, don't trade him. I'll take that. And I kind of stepped back from it. And you know, when the situation ended, I took my co-counselor aside and said, "Yo, what's going on? Do you actually like dry mac and cheese?" He's like, "No, man, that was disgusting." I was like, "Well, why'd you do it?" He said, "Sometimes we have to make split-second decisions that can change the course of someone's life." That kid went from possibly being the laughing stock of the entire cabin, because I was about to laugh at him, to one of the coolest kids at camp. And what hit me was at the end of camp, when the mother sent an email to the camp director at the time, Tom Patrick, and he let us know what she said. And the email subject line said, "What have you done with my child?" Question mark. "You have abducted my child, and you have given me a different one. My child's been to counseling, to special education, to therapy, to you name it. And we haven't been able to figure out what was wrong with him. But now he's making friends in the playground, he's confident, he's having fun. He gained that sense of joy, that sense of confidence." And so that is truly what you're doing to these children. And so I thank you. I commend you for all the great work that you do. I commend the amazing staff that are here, some of my personal mentors. And I commend you for being here so early. Thanks, guys.